Retro Ghetto.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. Now at this point, you've read the title, you've seen the thumbnail. We're going to jump straight into this one because I've got a lot to say and not much of it is positive. First thing that I do want to point out is that you'll have to search far and wide throughout my content to see me ever calling CEX or ever generally being negative about the company. Even a while back when I made a video addressing my issues with the company, I tried to approach it from a fair angle. I tried to look at it not only as a collector, but to look at it as a staff member and to look at it as a business that's trying to generate money. And I tried to deliver solutions which I think would accommodate everybody. So I've certainly never been the content creator to try and find drama in CEX. Even when I've previously lost on the CEX Lottery, I've kind of just got on with it, I've took it back, I've chalked it down to being part of the gamble. I've never sort of made it my thumbnail or tried to generate clicks or views as a result of it. And I've certainly never badmouthed the company where it hasn't been warranted. However, I cannot defend the indefendable. I will not excuse the inexcusable. So let's get into it. Basically, a few days ago, I got an alert on my phone from the CEX app for a game that I've been wanting for probably 2 years to 18 months. I've had this set on my save searches. It finally came through and I was delighted that when I got to buy it, it was still in stock. And this is where the trouble started. This is the most expensive game I've ever bought via CEX. This is a £140 game, so £142 with postage. And not even the fact of how expensive it is, it's a very rare game. This is just not a game that ever comes in stock. As I say, I've waited almost 2 years for the alert to come through. You very rarely see this one on eBay, and when you do see it, it tends to be in other countries in Europe, specifically Germany for some reason. And then even though it's a higher price than the £140, you've also got to then factor in additional fees and shipping when you're ordering something in from another country within Europe. So if you've been keeping abreast of my vlogs, you will know that I've been buying a lot of games recently, and quite a lot of heavy hitting games, and I've been spending a lot of my CEX vouchers, even though we've been doing a lot of good charity shop finds. So I didn't even have the full amount in vouchers to pay for this. So this game was paid partially in vouchers, but the majority of which I had to pay in cash. But again, I didn't mind. I just jumped straight into it because this is a game that I've been wanting for so long. As I say, the term grail often gets thrown around, but I would be tempted to say that this has been a grail for me. It's definitely one of the games which is realistic outside of games that cost thousands of pounds that I want to add to my collection more so than any other. Okay, so before we get any further, let me just clarify. This is Nintendo cardboard. I mean, you won't be surprised, right? This is a Super Nintendo game of high value. And to reiterate, the most expensive game I've ever bought with CEX. And do you want to see what came through my door today? This. This is what arrived through my letterbox this morning. It's very late at night now, but I had to make this video for various reasons. Number one, I wanted to get this off my chest because you can understand that annoyance actually verged on anger when I first saw this. And also, I'm intrigued as to see what is inside this. Now here's where I think this is indefensible. I understand that not everybody that works at CEX cares about retro video games. I understand that not everybody's going to understand the importance of Super Nintendo cardboard. I completely get that. For a lot of people that work there, it's just a job. Listen, I've worked in jobs before, especially in my younger years, that I couldn't care less about. However, surely there's policies in place within these stores that would either suggest, number one, maybe if it's Nintendo cardboard, it goes in a box, or number two, games over a certain value should be boxed. I would like to also reiterate at this point, I've done many orders with CEX via the app and the e-commerce, and they've always been packed sufficiently. I've never had an issue with packaging previously. Even lower value Super Nintendo games that I've received have always had the sufficient packaging. Sadly, I didn't screenshot the app when this game first came in stock, so I don't know which store this was. I'm going through the process now of trying to find out which store it was because I'm happy to name and shame them. I'm going to be putting it here now so you'll be able to see which store it was specifically that sent this game to me. And one of the most annoying things for me is that had this game arrived very well packaged, even if it was battered, even if it didn't have a manual, okay, slightly annoying, you take it back, it's all part of the CEX Lottery, it's all part of the gamble. But when you receive this, to know that this game potentially could have been in good condition when it left the store, and now look at it. And the other thing I want to say is shout out to Royal Mail because this is about as good as you could expect. For this game to have gone through the network and this to have gone through my door, I don't think you could ask for any more. I'm quite thankful it's gone through Royal Mail and not some of the lesser courier services because Lord knows what this would have ended up with. The fact that this isn't flat, again, it makes it even more intriguing, right? Because even though I'm sitting here perplexed that this is how they've sent a £140 video game, there is still hope. I mean, if we look at this box, we'll go to my second camera. If we look at this box, where the game's actually sitting, this part, there's no obvious damage. It's not bent in half. It's not as flat as a pancake. So as crazy as it is that they've sent this game in this packet, it could still be in good condition. The annoying part is that if this game was sent mint, it will no longer be mint. There's inevitably been some damage, right? It's not going to be as good as it was when it left the shop. That's just impossible. But theoretically, this could have left the shop in very good condition, and it now could just be in good condition, which I'll be happy with. But that's by a miracle. It's more by luck than by design, that's for sure. And the last thing that I want to say before we open this is it's not even about the money. Like I say, you can easily return these. It's the rarity of this video game. This isn't a game that comes in stock very often and I'll just wait until the next one, or there's a few more sitting at different stores around the country. This is never in stock. I don't even know if there's a UK version of this game available on eBay right now, so the thought that it could have been damaged simply because of this box is, yeah, it's annoying to say the least. Right, let's do it, shall we? It's almost midnight. I had to get this filmed. I've never been more intrigued to open a parcel from CEX in my life. I've never been more intrigued to open a video game in my life. Firstly, because it's one of the most expensive games I've ever bought. Secondly, because of the way it's been packaged. There's still kind of hope. Let's do it, shall we? Okay, so first things first. As soon as I've opened this, I can see there's crushing to the side of this. Now again, that could have been there before it left, but it's inevitably happened because of this packaging. The cartridges, the flaps are open. Okay, let's just get into it, shall we? It's R-Type 3. This very rare Super Nintendo game was a 1994 release. It's the first game in the R-Type series to introduce new forces. It had refined weapons, and it was a game that was largely lauded and applauded for bettering itself than the original R-Type, which came out on the Super Nintendo earlier. That game's very difficult. I've struggled to get past the first level many times. Apparently this one's been rebalanced and has got a much fairer system. Computer and Video Games gave this one 90%, and Electronic Gaming Monthly voted this as the 23rd best video game of all time. And I can't even carry on with the notes that I've got written because I'm sitting here looking at damage, which to me clearly looks like it's been as a result of this packaging. And I don't want to overegg the pudding and say it's heartbreaking, right? 'Cause it's a video game at the end of the day, but I love this stuff, right? This is why I do it. That's why I spend a lot of money on this stuff. That's why I go out charity shop hunting. And look, you know, it looks like damage which wasn't necessarily there when this left the shop. And that's what's the most annoying thing about it. But let's get into it. Let's see if there's a manual. I almost hope there isn't. There isn't. Okay. It makes my decision easier, right? Yeah, I don't know what to say about it really. It's clearly a CEX Lottery loss, but the way in which I pulled this out of that packet, you know, I think we can see that quite a lot of this damage was probably done in transit. And even without the manual, it's just a shame, right? There's not many of these about. I mean, could I try and fasten it up? Could I try and fix it up a bit? The biggest point of damage is in the corner there, and this is a very expensive game. And normally I'd be sitting here saying, for this price, there's no way I'd keep it in this condition, right? But you just never find it. But without a manual and in this condition, it's going to have to go back. Yeah, it's just a shame. I don't normally make content on this video that isn't positive, right? Because I love this stuff. People say to me, oh, you're always smiling, you're always happy. That's because I'm talking about things I love, but this is just annoying. And like I say, I never make this kind of content. I never call CEX. I've never had a reason to. I try and remain fair and balanced. But yeah, disappointing to say the least. Okay, I'm going to call that a day. Hopefully next time I see you guys, it'll be something more positive and more constructive than what was something clearly quite mindless. Play your games. Keep it retro. Okay, so it's a couple of days later and there's been some big developments in the R-Type 3 on the Super Nintendo saga. So after I finished filming, well the next day actually, I contacted CEX to obviously express my displeasure as to what had happened. They simply asked me if I could provide pictures, of which I could obviously do better than that. I sort of filmed the whole process, so I did send them some screenshots of the process of me opening it and showing them obviously the packaging, etc. and what the end product was, i.e. what condition it arrived in. At this point I thought they would just maybe apologise and reiterate the fact that I could return it to store for a full refund. However, what they did eventually come back with is what I think is the best resolution possible. The offer they put to me was that I could keep this game for the unbox price, which is just £50. And as you can see by the screen next to me, I accepted. I do definitely think this is the best resolution that I could have hoped for, especially with a game so rare. As I said to you before, this isn't a game that ever comes in stock, so it's not simply a case of just waiting for the next one, which is why I was initially so annoyed by what had happened. Keen to get this saga put to bed, I took my copy of the game to my local store the very next day. They made a few calls with this store that had originally sent it out. I was then refunded and I then was able to repurchase it at an unboxed price. So it would seem that we have a happy ending. I want to thank CEX for rectifying their mistake. I want to thank my local CEX branch for facilitating this, and I want to thank the original store that sent the game out for agreeing to this and ultimately taking a £90 loss. That is why I decided not to name the store. I was able to find out which store it was that sent it, but due to their ability to rectify this, I didn't think it was right to name the store publicly. So the big question I've been asking myself for the past couple of days is, has this ultimately worked out better for me? I think I've come to the conclusion that had I been able to buy this at the original CEX price and it was arrived in good condition, complete with the manual and the poster that it was supposed to come with, that would be my preferred outcome, given the fact of how rare and scarce this game is to get a hold of. However, equally, had this game popped up on eBay for a £50 bite now in the condition I received it in, I would have been delighted to have grabbed that, and I would have took great pleasure in telling you all what a bargain I was able to amass. I think ultimately it probably has worked out better for me because it clearly wasn't sent with a manual, irrespective of how it was packaged, but also I think that's the right thing for the company to do. They've admitted their mistake in how they sent it, and it's then their job to ensure as much customer satisfaction as possible. I think one of the big takeaways for me from this situation and this story is that the CEX isn't necessarily the devil incarnate people try and make it out to be. Clearly it's a company that does have a lot of flaws, often are well publicised on YouTube and on other social media forums. But this just goes to show you that if you do have issues, you can contact CEX, you can go down the relevant routes, and again, the proof's in the pudding that they have been willing to put this right for me. So if you do have any future issues, I wouldn't hesitate in contacting CEX, and they might be able to get a resolution fixed for you as well. I'm hopeful that this incident and subsequently this video will stop this from happening to you guys going forwards. Hopefully CEX as a company will learn from this. Obviously it's ended up hitting them in the pocket to the deficit of £90. Equally, hopefully the staff members or whomever it may be that decided to put a £140 piece of 30-year-old cardboard into a cardboard envelope have had the relevant training so that it won't happen again. On a more personal note, I'm delighted that I can end this video with a happy ending. I don't like making negative content on this channel, and I'm very happy that I've been able to leave this smiling because the right thing has been done and CEX have been able to rectify this for me. Tune in to next week's vlog, by the way, because I'm going to be doing my best to see what I can do with this case. I'm going to try every method that I've learned throughout my years of collecting and trying to get my best at my Nintendo cardboard to see if we can bring this game up to scratch and ultimately make it worthy of having its place on my Super Nintendo wall. As always, thank you very much everybody that's taken the time to watch. Play your games, keep it retro. I'll see you all on Sunday. Take care.
Retro Ghetto.